All right, folks, buckle up because we're diving headfirst into some seriously groundbreaking news straight from the clinical trials on Alzheimer's disease conference.
Oh, this is exciting stuff.
Regeneration Biomedical just dropped some data that could totally change how we think about treating Alzheimer's.
You're not kidding.
We're talking about using a patient's own stem cells injected directly into the brain to potentially fight this disease.
Now, that's a bold approach, no doubt about it.
It is, and what's really getting me fired up is that this isn't just about managing symptoms.
Right.
This research is hinting at the possibility of actually changing the course of the disease itself.
Yeah, that's what makes this so compelling.
So, full transparency, we're working straight from Regeneration Biomedical's press release.
Hot off the presses from CTAD.
Yeah, which means we're getting this info as soon as anyone.
Right to the source.
Let's break it down.
Okay.
9 participants, 3 different dose levels, all receiving the treatment. They call it RB-ADSCs.
Okay, so this open-label design, it lets them really zero in on safety in this early stage. Gotcha.
But they're also keeping a close eye on biomarkers like p-tau and amyloid-beta.
The hallmarks of Alzheimer's.
Exactly, and also cognitive function using measures like the MMSE.
Okay, makes sense.
And here's the kicker. They're following these participants for over 4 years.
Wow, 4 years is a huge commitment in the world of clinical trials.
It is.
It really shows they're in it for the long haul.
Absolutely.
But hold on, what exactly are these RB-ADSCs?
You got it.
You mentioned they come from the patient's own body. Right.
Exactly. They're adult stem cells taken from adipose tissue.
Adipose tissue.
Basically, just fat.
Ah.
And this is key because it sidesteps a lot of those ethical concerns about embryonic stem cells.
That makes sense.
What they do is take these cells, grow more of them in the lab, and then pick the ones that are expressing Wnt.
Wnt expression now. That sounds pretty technical.
Yeah.
Break it down for me.
Okay, so think of Wnt like a communication system inside our cells.
In this case, it seems like it's super important for the stem cells to talk to their new environment in the brain.
Interesting.
And maybe even trigger some repair mechanisms.
So they need to be able to communicate to do their job.
It's like equipping them with the right language skills to be effective.
That's a great analogy.
Right.
But injecting something directly into the brain that sounds intense.
It does.
How safe is this procedure?
That's the million-dollar question, and rightfully so.
Right.
The good news is, from this initial data, the safety profile looks surprisingly good.
Oh, that's good to hear.
We're talking about minor bruising and discomfort from the liposuction to get the fat cells.
Okay.
Some mild pain from the implanted reservoir they use for delivery.
Mm-hmm.
But the injection itself, 8 minutes, no anesthesia needed, and no adverse events reported for at least 11 weeks after the injection.
Wow, 8 minutes and you're done. That's faster than it takes me to make coffee in the morning.
Right.
But let's get to the heart of it. Are these RB-ADSCs actually doing something?
All right, here's where things get really interesting.
Okay.
After 12 weeks, they saw a reduction in both p-tau and amyloid-beta.
Those are the proteins that cause so much trouble in Alzheimer's, right?
Exactly. Seeing them decrease suggests this treatment might be hitting the disease at its core.
Okay, so potentially tackling the root cause, not just masking symptoms.
Exactly.
But this is a small group, right? How much can we really take away from these results?
You're right to be cautious.
Okay.
We can't jump to conclusions from such a small sample size, especially without a control group.
Right.
It's possible other things are contributing.
Yeah.
And longer-term observation is absolutely key to see if these benefits last.
Makes sense.
But seeing those biomarker changes, coupled with 2 out of the 3 participants showing improvement in their cognitive function on the MMSE,
Okay.
it's a strong signal that we need to investigate further.
So while it's super early, this personalized stem cell approach could be a game changer.
It could...
But where does this fit into the bigger picture of stem cell therapy for Alzheimer's?
Right.
Are there other approaches being explored right now?
Absolutely. This is a hot area of research.
Yeah.
Scientists are investigating all sorts of things.
Okay.
Different types of stem cells, different ways to deliver them.
So many possibilities.
This particular trial with RB-ADSCs injected directly into the brain, it's just one piece of the puzzle.
But a fascinating one.
It is. What's really interesting is how this approach tackles the delivery challenge head on,
Yeah.
aiming for a very precise and targeted intervention.
So it's not just about the type of stem cells, but how you get them where they need to be.
Exactly.
This is really cutting-edge stuff, and I'm dying to know more about these other approaches.
Well, one avenue that's gaining a lot of attention is the use of induced pluripotent stem cells, or iPSCs.
iPSCs.
These are adult cells that are essentially reprogrammed back into a stem cell-like state.
Wow, so they're kind of like turning back the clock on these cells.
It's like cellular time travel.
That's incredible.
Imagine taking a skin cell and giving it the potential to become any cell in the body.
So it's like giving the body its own repair kit.
That's a great way to put it.
But why are iPSCs so exciting for Alzheimer's research specifically?
Well, what makes them so attractive is that they can be created from the patient's own cells,
Okay.
which eliminates the risk of rejection.
That's huge.
Researchers are using them to create neurons and other brain cells in the lab.
So they're basically building new brain cells from scratch.
In a way, yes.
That's mind-blowing.
And this offers a potential source for transplantation therapies that are tailored to each individual.
So instead of a one-size-fits-all approach, we're talking about treatments that are customized to each patient's unique biology.
Exactly. This is personalized medicine taken to a whole new level.
That's really exciting.
And here's where things get even more interesting.
Okay, I'm hooked.
While the Regeneration Biomedical trial is all about direct injection into the brain,
Right.
other researchers are exploring different delivery routes.
Oh, interesting.
Like intravenous infusions or injections into the spinal cord.
So many different approaches.
Each method has its pros and cons.
I can imagine.
And it's likely that a combination of approaches will ultimately be the most effective.
It's like a multi-pronged attack on Alzheimer's,
Exactly.
using different tools and strategies to target the disease from different angles.
It's a fascinating and complex field.
I'm eager to learn more about the latest developments.
Well, one area that's seeing a lot of progress is early detection and intervention.
Early detection.
Researchers are developing new biomarkers and imaging techniques to identify people who might be at risk of Alzheimer's before they even show symptoms.
So catching it before it even really starts.
The idea is that if we can catch it early, we might be able to slow it down.
Or even prevent it altogether.
Exactly.
That's a game changer.
It is.
Early detection could be crucial in giving us a real shot at beating this disease.
Absolutely. And another exciting area is immunotherapy.
Immunotherapy, what's that about?
Scientists are exploring ways to use the body's own immune system to target and clear out those amyloid plaques and tau tangles.
So basically, training the immune system to recognize and fight those harmful proteins?
Precisely. It's like giving the body's own defenses a boost.
That's amazing.
And then there's all the research into lifestyle factors that might play a role in Alzheimer's risk.
Like what we eat and how much we exercise.
Exactly. Things like diet, exercise, sleep, and even cognitive stimulation are being studied to see how they might help prevent or treat the disease.
So it's a holistic approach.
It is.
Recognizing that there's no single answer to this complex problem.
That's right. It's about understanding the disease from every angle and developing a comprehensive strategy to prevent, delay, and treat it.
It's a multifaceted approach
Okay, exactly.
that addresses both the biological and lifestyle factors that contribute to Alzheimer's.
And that's what makes this field so exciting.
It is.
We're seeing progress on so many fronts, and I'm optimistic that we'll continue to make significant strides in the years to come.
Well, speaking of progress, let's circle back to the Regeneration Biomedical trial and those encouraging findings we were discussing earlier.
Yeah, let's dive deeper into those results and talk about what they might mean for the future of Alzheimer's treatment.
Sounds good to me.
Okay, great. These early findings, they're really something, aren't they?
They are.
But, they also kind of highlight just how complex this disease is. It's a good reminder that even though we're chasing these big breakthroughs, Alzheimer's research, it's a marathon, not a sprint.
Absolutely. And that's why it's so important to think not just about the science, but about all the other stuff too.
What do you mean?
Like, what happens if these treatments really work? What's the impact on people, on families? How does it change things for society?
You're hitting on something really important there.
Yeah.
With any big medical advancement, especially something like stem cell therapy, you have to think about the ethics.
Right. Because when I hear stem cells, I think of all those debates about embryonic stem cell research.
Yeah.
Are we talking about the same ethical concerns here?
That's a smart question. And it's important to be clear about the different types of stem cells.
Okay.
The RB-ADSCs they used in this trial, those are adult stem cells.
Okay.
They come from the patient's own fat tissue, so it's not like using embryonic stem cells at all.
So using a patient's own cells kind of takes that ethical problem off the table.
Yeah, for the most part.
But even so, I imagine there are still other ethical things to think about when you're talking about something as advanced as stem cell therapy.
Oh, absolutely.
Like what?
One of the big ones is making sure patients really understand what they're signing up for.
Informed consent.
Exactly. Patients need to get that these treatments are still experimental, you know.
Mm-hmm.
They need to know the potential risks, the potential benefits, the whole picture.
And that we're still figuring things out about the long-term effects.
Right. It's about managing expectations.
So no false hope.
Exactly. We can't get ahead of ourselves and overhype these treatments.
Gotcha.
People need to make their decisions based on solid medical advice, not just some flashy headline.
That makes a lot of sense. But thinking beyond individual patients, what about the bigger picture? Are there societal implications here?
Oh, absolutely. If these therapies become widely available and they work, one big issue is going to be access.
Access.
Making sure that everyone who needs them can get them, not just the wealthy or people with certain insurance plans.
It's a fairness issue.
It is. Everyone deserves a shot at these life-changing treatments.
No matter their background, no matter how much money they have.
Right, and then there's the whole economic side of things.
Oh, yeah, that's a big one.
Developing these therapies, manufacturing them, getting them to patients, it's going to be expensive.
And who pays for that?
Right. We have to figure out how to make these treatments affordable, how to make them fit into our healthcare systems.
It's like we're standing at the edge of a new era in medicine.
We are.
And we're not quite ready for all the changes it's going to bring.
That's a great point. We need to be prepared.
Definitely. But shifting gears a little.
Sure.
I'm curious about how these treatments might affect families, the people taking care of those with Alzheimer's.
That's such an important part of this, and it doesn't always get enough attention.
It doesn't.
Think about the burden on caregivers, on families, if we could actually treat Alzheimer's or even slow it down.
It would be.
The emotional toll, the physical toll, the financial toll, it's just massive.
It breaks my heart to see families going through that.
Mine too.
A successful treatment could not only help patients, but it could give caregivers a chance to breathe.
To live their own lives.
Exactly. It's like this ripple effect of good things happening way beyond just the patient.
It is, and that brings us back to why it's so crucial to keep investing in this research.
To keep pushing forward.
Absolutely.
So, as we look ahead, what are the big things researchers are focusing on to make stem cell therapy for Alzheimer's even better?
Well, one big area is finding the best types of stem cells to use. We talked about adult stem cells, iPSCs, but there are others out there.
Right.
And each one has its own pros and cons.
Makes sense.
Scientists are always working to refine their techniques, to create the most effective cells, the safest cells for transplants.
So finding the right tool for the job.
Exactly. And another big focus is delivery. How to get those cells where they need to go.
We talked about that, injecting directly into the brain.
Right, but there are other options. Intravenous delivery, targeting specific areas in the brain.
So many possibilities.
The goal is to make sure those stem cells reach their target, that they integrate properly.
It's about precision.
It is. It's not just about getting them in there. It's about getting them to the right place.
To do their job.
Right. And of course, we can't forget about the long-term effects.
We were talking about that earlier.
We need to know how long the benefits last, if there are any side effects that show up later, how these therapies interact with other treatments.
So many factors.
It's about following these patients over time.
To make sure they're safe.
Exactly, and to see if these treatments really work in the long run.
Not just a quick fix.
Right. We need sustainable benefits for patients.
This research is opening up a whole new way of thinking about how we might treat Alzheimer's.
It is.
But it's also raising some really big questions.
Ethical questions, societal questions.
It's a lot to consider.
It is, and that's what makes this field so fascinating.
It does.
It's not just about the scientific breakthroughs. It's about these big, complex issues that get at our deepest values.
It's about who we are as a society.
And what we hope for the future of medicine.
This has been a really thought-provoking look at the potential of stem cell therapy for Alzheimer's.
It has.
And it's clear that we're in the middle of this scientific revolution.
We are.
But it's one that requires us to be thoughtful, to consider all the implications, the ethical ones, the societal ones.
You're absolutely right. The success of these therapies depends not just on scientific ingenuity.
It's bigger than that.
It is. It's about navigating these complex issues and doing it with wisdom and compassion.
It's pretty mind-blowing to think we might actually be on the edge of a whole new way of treating Alzheimer's.
It is, isn't it?
Not just managing the symptoms, but going after the root cause of the disease.
Exactly. And this research from Regeneration Biomedical.
Yeah.
It's a great example of this new direction we're headed in.
Using the patient's own cells to heal their brain
It's innovative, that's for sure.
We've talked about the potential upsides, like those hints of cognitive improvement and knocking down those harmful proteins.
Right.
But let's be real for a second.
Okay.
What are some of the roadblocks, the things we still don't know?
Well, one of the biggest challenges is going to be figuring out how to scale up production.
Production.
Yeah, like if this treatment works in bigger trials,
Right.
how do we make enough of it for all the people who need it?
That's a good point.
It's personalized therapy.
Mm-hmm.
So we're talking about figuring out how to make these individual stem cell treatments on a massive scale.
It's not like popping a pill.
No, it's not.
And I imagine the cost is a big factor, too.
Huge, especially for a treatment that's this personalized and might need to be given over and over again.
Yeah, it's a big concern.
We have to make sure people can afford these treatments, that everyone can benefit.
Otherwise, it's just a solution for the wealthy.
Exactly, and that's not what we want.
So it's a challenge, but an important one to solve.
It is.
And beyond the logistics of it all,
Mhm.
there's still a lot we don't know about what happens in the long term.
That's true. We need more research to figure out how long the effects last, if there are any side effects that pop up later.
And how these new therapies interact with other treatments people might already be on.
We need to keep track of these patients over time.
Make sure they're doing okay.
Exactly, and make sure the treatment is really working over the long haul.
It's a marathon, not a sprint, like you said.
That's right. It's not a quick fix. We need real solutions.
It's a good reminder that science takes time.
It does.
We're always discovering new things, refining our understanding.
And that's exciting. But it also means we have to be cautious.
Not get ahead of ourselves.
Yeah, we should be optimistic about the potential, but we need to be realistic too.
No magic bullets.
No, but this is a major step forward. I really believe that.
It opens up a whole new world of possibilities.
It does. And you know what fuels that hope?
Yeah.
All those researchers out there.
We're ones on the front lines.
Exactly. They're working so hard to understand this disease, to find new treatments.
It's inspiring to see their dedication.
It is. They're the reason we're seeing this kind of progress.
It's a reminder that the future of Alzheimer's treatment is literally in our hands.
In all of our hands, that's right.
Working together, we can make a difference.
We can.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into stem cell therapy for Alzheimer's, let's encourage everyone listening to stay curious, keep learning, and be part of this conversation.
It's important.
This is something that affects all of us.
It does.
And together, we can shape the future of this field.
We've only just scratched the surface here.
Yeah, it's a complex topic, always evolving.
But I hope this deep dive has given folks a better grasp of what stem cell therapy is all about.
The potential, the challenges, the ethical questions.
Exactly.
It's a lot to think about.
It is, and it's been a privilege to share my thoughts with everyone.
Well, we really appreciate you being here.
Of course.
And to everyone listening, don't stop exploring, don't stop asking questions.
That's how we make progress.
This is The Deep Dive. Signing off for now, but the conversation doesn't stop here.
It doesn't.
Keep learning, keep pushing for answers, and we'll see you next time.
See you then.